welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord to play Dungeons and Dragons, and critically fumble a lot. Previously, the gang took their journey through the frozen waste of Eun-Bac with Alice's old pack of the people. They had some interesting encounters along the way. They went hunting with the people. They went spearfishing with the Moskoi. They took down a dire penguin. Froseth comported himself very well against the dire penguin, just so that you're aware. Also, in the midst of that, they stopped at what was called the Ice Maze, where Froseth found out a little bit about his lineage. And has probably been reading this book ever since. Yeah, but it's part of the reason that he did not go spearfishing or try to climb the berg of Bergtown to go look at the greenhouse of pineapples and the goats, because they have goats up there. Elosa as a continent is weird but fun. So yeah, cushioned by massive amounts of dire penguin fluff and dragging an awful lot of dire penguin meat, the gang travels for another few days until they reach what essentially looks like, from any reasonable distance, looks largely like a cliff. It's a little hard to look at because the sun is reflecting off it, and it kind of looks like basically somebody has this whole chunk of diamond out there, just because the ice in this region is so very, very clear. And Alice leans to Remy and is just, well, that would be Damyl. We should be arriving around about sunset, unless Vord decides that we want to camp out beforehand, because getting up to the main districts is usually a bit of a trek. But it depends on what everybody feels they're up for.
Sooner the better, I think.
It looks like
it's not
glorious, but I can't
overly
see.
icy at night. That sort of complication.
It's kind of, but it's also the fact that if we're supposed to be having dinner with and being hosted by Governor Alled, she might want some time to prep for us.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So, yeah, Vord would, at this stage, know better than I would. He's taken a lot more groups. I mean, we've usually only had one or two, and it's usually not a big deal to fit one or two into the gubernatorial manor. We're 8. So, of course, most of you guys aren't hearing this because there is a lot of wind whistle and the rest of it, but mostly what you guys are seeing is diamond glint ahead.
Yeah, my reaction is aforementioned. Paler's light is glorious, but oh gods, I can't see!
The individual manning the sled taps Hazel on the head with what looks like a pair of goggles that are just a little slit.
Thank you.
They for the snow blindness.
Harry, thank you.
You still can't see too much more of it, but the light is less punishing for a dark vision oriented individual. Yeah, and you start to get closer, and you see that it's not so much a cliff exactly. It is a sort of a mountain, but the reason that it looks more cliff-like is because that sort of cube-looking shape to it from a distance is actually buildings. It's buildings sort of carved out of ice around the bits of mountain, the same as at the cliffs around Egref and Cupcake Coterie in general. At the top, what you might have taken for a pointy mountain top is actually this high-towered, almost Disney castle. For Froseth, not so much the castle part, but the ice buildings carved into things. You left when you were very, very young, so you have no actually clear memory. But this does feel slightly familiar as an architectural idea. Bigger than you expected. But given what you've been reading, your settlement to the west took its ideas of architecture from here and places like it. So it takes you a minute to think about it, but realize after a moment that the reason this feels a little familiar is that it somehow, on some very, very deep level, reminds you of home. I don't know who's riding with Froseth while he's having his facial journey. Possibly Barnabas, because it felt like Darvin and Ava, definitely Hazel and Clarity, and that just leaves you two.
Fair enough.
So yeah, you have Dragonborn traveling companion doing the.
You all right there?
Yeah.
What's going on? Your face is saying something, not sure what.
It's a feeling of familiarity that I wasn't sure could happen.
Okay.
It's a reminder of a home I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Barnabas is fairly intelligent. I think what he'd probably understand is, you can still see things when you're a baby. And memory goes back farther than you think. It's just sometimes really, really hard to access. So, but if you see something that looks like it, some very, very old memories can get prodded.
Oh, I think I understand. Okay. Yeah, it's old. Really old memories coming back, huh?
Yeah.
Is good memories, bad memories?
Neither, really.
Not, just memories. Like, it's, I don't know. It's some comfort to it. Some loss as well.
No. If you ever want to talk about it, go right ahead. So.
The two incredibly stoic individuals having this conversation.
This is as emoting as we generally get.
I'm gonna save you two, frankly.
Thank you.
Once you as you're approaching and you awkwardly trying to figure out how to continue that conversation, Vord stops and goes, "Okay, so you're all new, and her governorship is going to be hosting you, and it's probably nice to give her a bit of an overnight to prepare for your coming. Also, I doubt that any of you want to walk the spiral in the middle of the night, and I don't really want to listen to some of you whimper while we do it. Alice makes a gesture that needs no translation in Fort's general direction. It's a very,
He's got a point.
very, very brief argument of, well, they, it's like, but they do, Meeple, yeah, but you don't have to bring it up. Try to be a little bit polite. And he's like, well, fine, at least the ones that you invited to, at least the ones that you adopted aren't the Meeplers. And yet another one of those needs no translation gestures.
Were we told what the spiral was? I can't
No.
remember. No.
Nope.
I didn't think so.
Nobody explained that to you at all. You will see it in the morning. So we are going to stop by basically the only inn at the mountain base that actually serves us. Not that we're disliked, it's just that there's a lot of us and we tend towards the very big. And everything else is for other travelers who probably think we're scary. Looks at the awkwardness of Barnabas and Froseth, and Froseth is still just ing at the buildings and going, I think you're going to like it. Taps heels into the flanks of his moose, and off they go. And about 20 minutes later, as all these things go, you wind up at set again into the mountain base. It reminds of little more than the piecemeal in shape, except it's made of ice, and the back of it seems to be set into the stone of the mountain. It's not a small place, but it's not huge either. But doesn't tend to see very much need in the way for windows, but it's certainly not the simple kind of igloo you might imagine for something that's made out of ice. This is architecture. Right, we can leave everything out here. And gestures to the rest of the pack, and they don't unload their packages. Well, maybe one or two you don't entirely see, but they do unload you. Not Froseth and Barnabas, not because they can't, but because they are them, and they can take care of themselves. But Hazel and Clarity, Ava and Darwin.
Okay.
Yeah, they give you a minute to get your feet out, get your feet under you. Just you. Well, gestures again. Barnabas and Remy. It's just bringing some of the dire penguin. Triss is gonna love it.
All right.
All right.
Well, if you want to help, I was most talk to them. But yeah, okay, yeah, and yeah, he's gonna leave the two of you to do it. So I'd like both of you to make an athletics check, please.
All right.
It's something you're good at. It should be fine.
Whoops.
Oh, you had to say that.
Yeah. I'd love to keep the nat 20, but roll again.
Oh.
Still well enough.
Still, she's happy to show off.
And given the size differentials, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But, it looks more impressive on Remy because she's really not very tall.
Mm-hmm.
So Barnabas is taking a piece of, a chunk of dire penguin meat the size of Remy, and Remy is carrying a chunk of dire penguin meat the size of Remy, and so is Alice, because she's, if her wife is helping, then so is she. And you walk in, and this is the first time you have seen wooden furniture. the other reason that this reminds of the piecemeal when you walk in is because the furniture is more mismatched even than that. Every culture in Equitas is represented in the furnishings. It's like people brought bits to help this Triss build her tavern, and they just brought shit from everywhere. So yeah, you've got the standard Egref bells and whistles kind of table, and the simple Bellerace tavern table with the trencher benches, and the kind of small, it's just about enough to put food on thing that you normally find in Alzor High and Point surrounding, because they don't have a lot of wood. The bone and driftwood kinds of things that you find in the winter settlements for the Moskoy, which sort of crosses the people and the Moskoy. And it is surprisingly warm for someplace made of ice. It's the first place where you feel like maybe the fur might be a little much. And yet it's made of ice. The floor has a carpeting scheme that is similar to your approach to the center of the ice maze, in that carpets from all over the place are just kind of layered across the floor. Standing at the bar, watching huge chunks of a dire penguin make their way in, is a silver dragonborn woman. You're pretty sure, anyway. I mean, you've seen Faraday, but she hasn't quite grown into the face yet. You more tell by clothing, and the name helps. Watching this come in and going, I didn't know we were having more of the people come through, and first glances in an Alisay sort of direction. It's like, and trying to find something else to look at. Eyes fixed on Barnabas. And then desperately trying to find something remotely fucking familiar, she looks at Proseth and goes, okay, you're new. I thought I knew everybody in Damyl.
Oh.
Either I don't know everyone in Damyl, or you're not from here.
We're not from here.
Well, I figured them, but I wanted to make sure about you.
No, I'm not. I'm well with them, but yeah, not from here.
Okay, and that's a story you really don't want to be telling. Okay, yep. We will go with that. What I have dire penguin delivery, and what okay, I don't know you, and I'm trying not to ask rude questions, so I will probably ask rude questions to you. Saya, what is this? I'm not human. The wings were a wedding gift. It's a very long story. I might dance it for you later, but can we put this down, please? Oh, yes. Sorry. Well, welcome to the People's Rest. You know which way the kitchen is. If you'd like to, I'll make sure they get their usual gesturing to the people who've just colonized a few tables, like they own the place, and chatting to each other in the sign language. And you all find a table and maybe look at the menu board. I'll be back in a moment.
Thank you.
And starts basically pouring ale for the for the people. And it turns around to Rebbe, who's the one who actually said the thank you, and going, what am I having to add to the specials? What is gesturing to the
Dire
meat?
penguin.
Okay. Fantastic. That's probably going to be a bit more of a stew for tomorrow thing, but we can work with that. And I suppose we could probably roast some of it. I've got plenty now. Which just incidentally means that food and rooms and things are on the house because you've paid for them now. Inigo,
Thank you.
There's a separate spot around the side which we're using for cold storage. You, sir, with the hooves, you can leave yours out, and we will have our gentleman in the kitchen see to that.
Of course.
And starts pouring things. And yeah, the kitchen, the walls are actually made of stone.
Mm-hmm.
Literal mountain stone. They've just carved it right in, which is why they have basically the whole back wall is oven. How they vent it, you have no idea. But it's just massive, massive oven, and you see, you look in, you can actually just see bits roasting clearly in preparation for dinner in the evening. And as you turn around to try to find the cold storage, you find yourself looking at a gentleman who's about 1.5 feet taller than you, Barnabas.
Whoa.
Goliath.
Ah.
He's big.
Hello.
Howdy. Told to bring this over for you guys.
Okay. You're not the dinner.
No. I wish that was the first time someone asked me that, but it's not. I'm not. This, the Star Penguin.
At least I'm asking.
That
Yes, that door there. Remember you were supposed. Alice, as she's walking, remember you were supposed to give yours to him.
Oh, right. I was supposed to give this to you. Sorry.
And he grabs it with absolutely no problem at all. And okay, so we have a new special on the menu. And it leans out. Triss, are these going to be breaded? Do we have the breadcrumbs? Yes, we have the breadcrumbs. Then yes. Guess what? You guys are getting chicken fried dire penguin. But yeah, he starts a cleaver that's a little bit longer than Barnabas's sword, and starts just on one stroke chopping this massive chunk of meat into steaks. So yes, in case you didn't see the chalkboard, we have roasted ptarmigans. The reason I ask is that somebody brought in lots and lots of beefsteaks, and now apparently deep fried dire penguin in breadcrumbs. You tell her, not me.
Gotcha.
And Alice is just, come on, Barnabas, shove, shove, shove. Yeah, you guys, Remy and Alice hung up meat in a room almost the size of the kitchen, just on the grounds that there is an awful lot of very large butchery, basically, and some, bins of the kind of vegetables that aren't going to get unduly issue laden if they freeze a bit. So
Meat hooks everywhere.
yeah, meat hooks with very big hanging things. Apparently everything out here is kind of huge. So yeah, plunked at table, and you guys saw on the menu the same thing. Although you do have Triss sort of chalking up deep fried dire penguin in breadcrumbs.
The fact that they're cooking the ptarmigans is just that still throws. I was expecting chicken noises. You know what I heard instead?
Bork, 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 bork. And Alice is just making the noise.
That.
There's actually a video on my Tumblr where you can hear and see a ptarmigan. And I think for Hazel, the other one is they have little red eyebrows.
And
I showed
then
that video to Mel.
there's
Her
the
phone
whole.
fell out.
It looks like a dragon set its eyebrows on fire.
But there is still very good eating on a ptarmigan. You have to concede this.
I'll concede that. It's just.
And the noise ptarmigans make are much more dignified than the noise you made when you first heard one.
Everything is more dignified than the noises I make.
I don't think that's entirely true. Half of what Darwin does is less dignified than the things you do.
We have an entire
I'm sitting right
an
here.
entire night and a bit to essentially wait/prep. So should we go over what we plan on requesting access to, just to be absolutely sure we all have it?
I mean,
That's actually one of the few things I took notes on.
yes, can we not be laughing quite so much about how little we take notes? Thank you. From an out-of-character perspective, that would be very much appreciated if it was less of a joke. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm cool with that, and I'm just gonna fall in wherever anybody might actually need me, just on the basis that, and I still have the issue with we don't have a lot of time, and that place is huge. So the one thing we really have to discuss is how long we can justify staying if we don't find anything. Because, I mean, this makes the library in Belarus look not podunk, but kind of average. And we don't have years.
Yeah, and the Belarus, and considering the Belarus library had pocket realms in it.
Oh yeah, this one does too. It's just it's set up a little different.
Yeah, if this one makes the Belarus one look average, that means that it's not just pocket mini realms. You may as well have an entire world in here.
Well, the Belarus pocket dimensions more or less come to a small city. The one here comes up to bigger city or small province. So, I'm gonna go get us something to drink. Mulled cider, sweet plum wine that's favored amongst the Dragonborn. That's why they serve it here. Or straight up ale. It'll be cold though.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cider sounds real good to me.
I'm somehow not surprised. Farzad? Oh, good, you are moving.
The cider sounds fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Muttering something about I really should stop doing this. Reminds me way too much of my old job. So yeah. And no one says a word.
How long are we thinking of looking. I mean, both in terms of just in general, and if we don't find anything for some time, how long until we go, okay, I'm not going to find anything anytime soon? Like,
Well,
what's our
I-
cutoff?
I
I'm
Are we
guess,
dealing with hours, days, what?
I guess it
days
depends how
at
long you
least,
think we
but
have. I mean,
I expect the problem will be we find too much and you can only read so much so quickly.
Well,
I can at
unless you're
least
cleric.
partially
Anyway,
help direct that if I ask the correct question.
isn't that a once a day thing, though?
It's been a day,
Yeah,
at least,
but
since I last used it.
well, I was just thinking, what if we need it like more than once? But
Well, it's the end of the day, isn't it?
well,
Does it reset at dawn?
I mean,
It would be a little. Well, that would be probably pushing the line a little, but that. Either way, I can ask. I can ask of Paylor for I guess directions to what we should be looking for. And-
Froseth and Barnabas, what? Given that you're being relatively quiet and maybe actually thinking about this, you've probably picked up at around this point that it's Governor Alled who is going to be granting the access, and she's not doing that until Froseth gives her copy of the rhyme hook, lineage, etc. And that's probably not going to happen until she calls them for the dinner.
Mhm.
So why are they talking like this is something that they'll be able to jump into first thing? They're probably not even going to be able to look at the Silver Vault tomorrow anyhow. Because they seem to be talking like they could walk right up to the Silver Vault even if they knew where it was, which they don't. I mean, they'd ask Alice, but it'd probably be better to save them the look Alice would give them and explain, we have to talk to the governor first?
Aren't we putting the cart before the horses here? We got to talk to the governor first, and I think Process got some business.
I would expect our dealings with the governor to probably be almost a whole day event. Like,
probably
Right.
going to take a while. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of time for sorting out at least part of it, but just going over it a few extra times, or at least the questions we have that we're already considering wouldn't hurt. I'll be able to ask my question, but that'll be the last thing we do before any of it. In the meantime, as you guys said, we're going to be talking to governor, that sort of thing. So.
I mean, I had a few things down, mainly the looking into the Archfey, for the reasons we know, and Tiamat more specifically how Bahamut managed to knock her into Avernus and how we can put her back if we need to. Because let's face it, that is an option we should keep in mind.
Yeah. Alice comes back down with the trays and going, I have a feeling that that's more how to petition any god, to do it again.
Yeah.
Because we are not going to be able to blast.
Well, no, yes.
That's the other problem, though. If we can't get it, even if we can get it through the Southern Lands, the Shattered Lands, it's, I mean, what that did to the Shattered Lands. We have to consider what we might end up doing to an entire other continent.
That's true.
if it came to do it, oof.
And if we managed to be able to do it at the Shattered Lands, it's already magically weird.
How screwier is it going to get?
And would anything from its screwiness be able to cross bits of ocean and get to the rest of it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another thing we need to try and look into is the black gun messy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Any kind of histories or any other encounters that we don't know about?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd like to take a look more about getting home.
Oh,
Well,
yes,
that's what the Archfey thing was supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think there's any way until if we can get back what he took from me.
Well, confirming that it can't be back is also worth knowing.
Well,
Hmm.
we could. To be fair, that one we could probably ask the governor. She is reputed to be the most magically inclined of the 5.
Hmm.
I mean, she can do and has done some fairly impressive shit. So, if that kind of planar gate has been closed to you, I'm pretty sure she'd be able to figure it out, and that saves some study time.
Mm-hmm.
worth asking at the very least.
We also might be able to get a better idea of like the dragons that we've still have left to go up against.
Mm-hmm.
Some strategies or ideas on how to deal with them. Specific to them.
I'm giving up on attempted strategies with the dragons. Because
Fair.
I mean, that's the thing. We have tried, and apart from the goldfish bowl thing, all that
Yeah.
it's done for us is made us less able to react well when we've been inevitably taken by surprise.
Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Less
I
able
guess
to
I-
improvise.
Well,
Yeah,
I
I think improvisation is going to be the key to the
yeah,
day
I mean,
there. Sorry,
I hate to say it, Darvin, but you hyper focus on things, and when you hyper focus on a plan, it throws you entirely off when it doesn't go as it should expect. So it's probably better to just expect the unexpected, know approximately what kind of things to, in vague terms, expect.
Expect a breath weapon. Expect them to possibly fly. Expect that. Yeah.
Expect claw attacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Know that, expect that they're going to do something funky to the terrain.
Terrain.
Right.
Them just
Expect
existing
them
in
to
an
be
area
you
causes
think.
changes.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean,
Expect them to be assholes, basically.
I think that about sums it up nicely.
That's what dragons are.
I need to approach combat.
at which
the
point
same
you
way-
have Alice going, could you please specify?
Matics are assholes.
Because you do kind of have Triss kind of looking over at the table when Ava is just, well, that's what dragons are, assholes. It's just,
Oh.
Chromatics.
Not
Chromatics, Ava.
but that's why Alice is just, no.
Darwin's just
I don't count Dragonborn, obviously.
At which point she leans up towards Ava, very, very close. In this particular province, some of them, particularly the Silver Dragonborn, know what Vieve Alled is. And all of them probably report back to her. I would know. That's sorry. Don't say it to me. Say it loudly. And correct yourself.
I apologise, that was a bit rude.
Yeah, we've had some issues with chromatics lately, and she's particularly pissed off. I grant, because one actually killed me before I actually managed to get to meet her, so she's still smarting a little about that one. She's my Rika. Maybe roll a persuasion check. Oh, good. She knows Alice A being from the people. She knows that particular word, so she gives a nod of a sort of a, yeah, okay, but be more specific next time. I get it, Rika, I really do. Just particularly in Equitas in general. I mean, they're a little weird, but they've been nothing but nice to us.
Sure.
Also, please keep in mind or remember that the one that we've got upstairs is the reason that Persith has a little sister.
Mhm.
Little big sister. Yeah, so
I'll try to be more careful.
we're going to have to consider a time limit, but I think that bits about the dragons, I mean, on one level, I mean, we can cut out too much study about the locking of that level of basically the deprivation of Barnabas's way home. We can at least confirm it with Governor Alled. And if we need to, we can probably I don't even want to say it because I mean he's not going to be bothering us ever again, but we don't know what else he's going to be bothering meantime. So it's all about how we prioritize dealing with His Majesty. But unfortunately, like I was saying the last time, we have to consider that we at least need to remove that white dragon from Gray's Inn before spring thaw so that there's any kind of chance of them having one.
Yeah, because that's sitting directly on Gray's Inn. That puts a damper on any kind of transportation through there, among other things.
Like Baron Svere's livestock.
Exactly.
Also, it's going to make at least part of the trek up to Black Crown harder than it needs to be. Because
The longer it sits there, the more it's just going to be permanently frosty.
And yeah, I mean, I had to look at a map of the region. And if you try to skirt around to the west through the sort of Goldendale area, you get stopped by the chasm before you reach the end of Gray's Inn. I don't think you can cross that thing. I could, but
How familiar am I with the with that particular?
you were at
geographical
the
feature?
you were at the chasm. Way back when
That one, yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
very
that,
very
that,
deep, very very wide, and with at least one temple carved into it.
Yep, there's a temple in it, and the rest of it just goes down. And you can't see what's all the way at the bottom, because that's a lot of down. They're the opposite of Mount Palor. Mount Palor goes all the way up.
That's the thing, it kind of melds into Mount Palor. Because at the
Mhm.
very end of the chasm, you wind up with Mount Palor.
Yep, and that's part of the reason for temple and chasm, temple around, and for all we know, there's another one top. For all I know, there's another one top side. They didn't really tell me any of the details. Probably didn't want me crashing the place.
Well, running around in circles, but yeah, I mean, from what I saw, there's Mount Palor with the shrine that you probably studied at, and probably older temples through the chasm, which it looks like tore open for no apparent reason. But eventually you wind up on a sort of a downgrade and wind up into, Goldendale on one end and Gray's Inn on the other. But Gray's Inn and Goldendale both go up fairly far north, with the chasm getting wider and deeper and weirder the whole time, until you get up to Mount Palor where that crack stops, and then you're into Cragveer. And while I know we need to check up on that at some point, trying to get around it to get to Black Crown is gonna be a problem. So we need to deal with the White Dragon sharp-ish.
Do we know we know the White Dragon's name, if I recall right? Yes.
Varidel. Froseth, you heard that one. Varidel, yeah? Yes.
The white? Yeah.
I expected you to just say yes because I remember even if you don't. It was a very long time ago. It's okay.
That one I do have written down, but don't have up.
It's okay. That's why I'm saying, you don't have to check. I am just reminding you because I know you have it in your notes. So, yes.
Okay.
And yeah, that would make a potential thing to just learn about if that particular dragon has any habits.
He looked pretty smash, kill, destroy from my end.
Yeah.
Yep, I would figure maybe some favored thing he likes to smash to use as bait.
Except, Froseth, didn't you say that his whole thing was he's not very subtle? Or she said that?
Yeah. He lacks subtlety.
Oh, good. That means that if someone just flails at him in any way, he'll go direct at it.
The wings kind of stretch a little bit, like, oh great,
See?
I have more flail than all of y'all.
So basically, we now know who's going to be chased around the entire time. You, probably also Barnabas, Froseth, and Clarity are going to probably get chased around once the fight starts.
I want your reasoning now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why them specifically?
The most unique looking thing. Since he lacks subtlety and is all about smash, I figure.
And he's taking.
That just means he's gonna look at something, go, ooh, that's most interesting. Zoom.
Except, first, you intimated that that Varidel was taking orders direct from Tiamat.
Yeah.
Doesn't Tiamat specifically hate the two of us?
Very much so.
She's gonna pass that along, I imagine.
Probably.
So we narrow that focus even further. Okay, good. Not good for us, but we know what to be ready for. Who's going to be focused, so I can make sure you stay alive because we need you alive a lot.
Hopefully, it means we can bring her to ground that's better for us.
Him first of all. If
him.
I remember from what Versus was saying, you do realize that a dragon can outfly me.
Yeah, the only way we'd attract them to a specific place we want them to be is if we were already there.
And then we'd have to let them know. We'd have to let him know. And if he's ordered to be sitting on Gray's Inn...
So we have to walk face first into it. From the sound of that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, we are the best at face checking everything.
Do we think we have time to try and request another fishbowl? Probably not, right?
It took her a lot of time. It took her a lot of energy. And from what I know about spells of that magnitude, probably cost an awful lot of money. I mean, we can't keep asking them for these things. I know that we want to try and stay as safe as possible, guys, but at some point we're gonna have to stand on our own.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the
I
things I
thinking
was
more of the backup
considering
plan,
is
but
learning
yes,
more about
still sounds-
tapping axe.
Sorry, you two were talking at the same time?
Sorry.
So, no. In alphabetical order. Ava.
No, I was saying, well, I was seeing more an absolute last resort backup plan, but I suppose that's what it was the first time, so.
Yeah, and, well, I mean, that's the thing. Even for an absolute last resort backup plan, it still need to be prepared before we got in, and it would still cost that time, that energy, that money. And we don't even know what's going on in Goldendale right now.
That's true.
We know that Varidel is going to be having the winter spread. We know that refugees have been leaving Cedar Grove and the Elven Wild. And we don't know what's happening over there. And what's caught directly in the middle of that? So this is... I didn't want to say this in this specific set of terms. I'm sorry, Hazel. I know you're thinking about it. I know what's on your mind, so I didn't want to rub your face in it. But since a lot of that seems to be being missed in the big picture here, this is why I'm asking about how much time we have or don't. We've already been away for weeks.
Almost the whole winter at this point.
We are about halfway through the winter. We have to do something. Fast. So what we really need to do is streamline our research course for right now. What do we need to know right now for when we go and deal with the problem that may end up killing our families? And we can come back for the rest. And we need to set a pretty solid time limit here. Thankfully, Darwin learning the teleportation circle shaved a few days off that. But crossing the Eun-Bac Wastes takes time.
Yep. And one... Let's see... There's the situation with the Azamar that...
No, that we're gonna have to leave that. They're not happy, but they're safe.
All right, yeah.
And
Only other thing I could think of off the cuff right now is we have a few of, well, I'm going to tap the axe, weapons that some are still dormant, others are
waking up.
very awake.
Not very awake.
What?
Apparently, they've got further to go.
Apparently.
I'd want to know...
I think I can answer that one for you. It's clearly something about deeds and intent. Some of these are brand new. There won't be anything necessarily written down, and this is a choice of the Forge when they decide to awaken stuff like this. This isn't insert tab A into slot B. This isn't a step-by-step instruction guide. This is what you do, why you do it, what's in your heart when you do, and the valor of your deeds. It's not something you can... I feel like I'm going to offend Clarity mortally here, but there are some things a book just cannot teach. It salutes her with the tankard.
I freaking love you. You're great.
But
thank you. We needed that.
Yeah, we did. But you know what I mean. That's not... We're not going to find a step-by-step how-to... This is the stuff of legend, and legends don't work that way. Legends write themselves.
Makes sense to me.
Mostly, and correct me if I'm wrong here, we can ask if there's anything that can be done about Barnabas's way home being taken. I don't know what would happen as far as that goes with the bargain that you made, but let's get some preliminaries on that before we make any kind of final decisions. What we do about it if Tiamat does rise, and any stories that we can pick up, at least getting a sense of how they at least set the black shit not quite so active as it is now. And why it might have woken up now.
I guess I can cover dealing with asking with the black stuff.
Well, that was the thing. What we were talking about was approaching both those questions from two separate angles each. The black shit and the Tiamat slam dunking, both can be handled from a historical martial record sort of thing. Legends, battle plans, battle maps, that kind of thing. And we'd probably be leaving that to Barnabas for the martial and Darwin for the lore. Clarity was going to approach both those situations from the magical standpoint. And I think Remy was going to help Barnabas with the martial. Mm-hmm. I know that Froseth and Hazel were going to be looking at the more faith-based aspects. That still kind of leaves me and Ava, since we have a how-to guide on the dragons of this continent already. So we just need to actually sit down and look at that. I'm the wild card here because I already have access to a couple of spots in there already. So I'll go into wherever I might be most needed. Ava can probably either handle history, or if they're conflated, I don't know why they would be, but they might be. But if they are conflated, join Darwin in the lore, because for you it would be like songs and stories and that kind of thing, and the other end of that is dry, dense historical fact. I feel really bad about subjecting you to that, Ava, but let's face it, you've actually had those kinds of classes, so you're probably more used to that kind of writing than us. Whereas I imagine that Darwin, as Reginald, probably fell asleep over some of it, or left it about half done, snuck out a window, and went to go and hear what they were doing in the local tavern. Oh, wow, I am really good at this!
The ceiling?
Yes, and you do have trysts going. Not that your conversation isn't fascinating, but can I take food orders now? And again, you've got your various bits of choice. Actual beef. You guys haven't had cow in a while. Ptarmigan, which you have had, and again the chicken fried dire penguin.
Okay, we went through all the efforts.
Dire penguin.
Yep. Penguin.
It stepped on me. I want to eat it.
That particular one came at me with its mouth open, and I want to do the same thing to it.
Alice flags up. What did you think we were eating at the celebratory dinner after that hunt?
But I still want to do it. I didn't get to do that.
And Triss just goes, I think we still have some bread rolls. I will cut the bread roll in half, and I will put yours in like a sandwich, and you can approach it like that. Does anybody else want the same?
You.
I'll
Yeah,
try
thank
that.
you.
She is
I'll go with
ridiculous,
the
and this is why I love her.
chicken fried penguin.
Yes, but that she still is it. I'll say she is. It's just that she's having a chicken fried dire penguin sandwich.
I'll go with
Be-
the chicken fried dire penguin. People look at me very strangely when I eat beef.
Yes, no. Trish is like, no. See, that is not the point. You're all apparently having the dire penguin. It is just that two of them are having their bits of dire penguin in a bread roll, like a sandwich.
You know, I'll go with that too. That sounds delicious.
It's just like, yeah, it's draconic. So Ava, Froseth, Darvin, it's cowbill man with glasses, and I had to explain a thing 3 times. He looks so intelligent. That draconic. You did not hear that, or you did not understand that.
I know.
Yeah, so you've got Darvin and probably Froseth just. Yeah, I have no idea what she said. I don't want to know.
No, you don't.
Well, it probably wasn't about me, so I don't care that much, but... And you okay, Barnabas? Because you're usually a little quicker on the uptake.
It's been a long day.
I know it's been a long couple of weeks, and that was
Yeah.
a fairly fraught conversation. I get it. It's just... There's a lot to be getting on with at this point, and we still have to consider... And I know it's easy to forget, given the amount of stuff we're having to be doing, that we are on a time scale here, and you're coming up to the edge of it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just to flag it up, I have in my notes that from prior when we spoke about this, that we were interested in looking at the Chained Oblivion and other evil gods. Is that off the table now?
Right now, I think we have to leave it until we at least deal with Baronsvere. I mean, it might be related, and there might be some footnotes in the bits about Tiamat going through the Shattered Lands, but at this point, if we can keep her busy enough to not be messing around with that black shit, it's something. But right now, if we don't get some kind of focus, there's 8 of us, and there's world-shattering problems going on here, and we need to pick one, and right now we need to pick the one that we've actually know we can fight.
Yeah.
Before there's nothing left to save.
One big frosty jerk and more rainbow-colored jerks.
Well, we've got the black, we've got the black, the green, and the white. Although I'd probably want to deal with them in reverse order. The white has to come first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the green is probably moving. So we're probably going to need to kill both sides of that pincer maneuver. And at the very least, that likely means, unless we have that Dracolich that Froseth said flew up to Cragveer, there's at least going to be a lot less dragon coming to bite the rears of the mercenary companies when we send them against Black Crown to distract their army while we sneak in the back and deal with the Jain Naran III and his
Posse.
I was trying to find a way to say, I was trying to find a much more inventive way of saying bitch of a daughter, but you kind of stepped on that.
Right.
I
That's okay.
don't think any of us have any scrying magic, do they?
I've got a little bit of something, but it takes being a mile away.
Right, that,
As mentioned, there's
clairvoyance, I think it
divine
was?
questioning to be
Yeah,
done,
but
but that's
there's a distance limit on
Distance,
that.
yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
there's also, it's
I've
also categoric, and
I've been checking in a bit on Twilly and Miranda, and the problem is that it's not a mind reading thing. So if they're trying to keep things quiet so they don't worry us, so we can do what we need to do without, I can't tell, but they're still answering.
Well, that's good at least.
But again, I don't know if that means that everything's fine or if everything's a lot less than fine, but they want us to think it's fine so that we're not worrying about them. I haven't known them very long, but I know them pretty well. And if I asked them if we need to get back there now, they'd probably say, no, it's fine. We can handle it for a while longer. Tell me I'm wrong, Hazel.
not even remotely wrong.
And so all I mean
Mama,
is,
they're gonna. I picked up at least a little bit of their stubborn.
all I'm saying is that just because they're alive and answering doesn't mean they're not in big trouble. We don't have a lot of time.
Okay.
I mean, we need to spend tonight, tomorrow, and the meeting with Vieve Alled properly, because that is how these things are done. But then we have to set a time limit. And if I have to, I will see if I can get a something a little bit more properly scrying than my bit of jewelry. I'll try anyway.
What? So then,
Day, 2 days.
I was going to suggest if we find information, then go from there based on the amount. But if we don't find anything in the particular subject we've been tasked with after a day, move on.
Darvin, no. I mean, there's at least some kind of index. My worry is not about, on those specific subjects, my worry is not about finding general information. I'm worried about finding too much in languages we can't read.
Okay.
But,
So did that day or two sound reasonable, or is that...
well, what that was a day or two pending review, I think.
Got it.
Because, I mean, all I mean is that a day or two will not be enough to go through even limited by language. I mean, Clarity doesn't even have that limit. I don't need to have it either for about an hour.
And
You've got your
I do a
mark.
little bit.
So, but even if we're limited to the languages we can speak and read normally, it's gonna be too much to get anything solid unless something absolutely jumps out at us and says, this here is exactly what you need to know. But even then, there are so many takes on what you actually. I mean, like I say, of my pack, I'm the only one who actually went in there deliberately. So I know a little bit about what it's like in there. And I mean, to be honest, you could spend a half an hour just getting from one shelf to another in some cases. Some of those rooms, if you like, are big.
I'm sorry,
All
Alice.
right.
I think I was still operating under the scale of the Belarus library. You're right. It's I've got to ramp up my expectations, at least as far as scale. I apologize.
And you're not to know. That's why I'm telling you. I'm not being frustrated at you. I'm being frustrated at the whole situation.
Oh, I
And
understand.
I
Yeah,
wasn't.
we're
I mean, it. I don't know if this is going to help us with our immediate, but so I don't know if this whole thing has been a waste of time.
We'll just have to make sure it wasn't.
I'm just frustrated because if some of that could have waited until we at least dealt with the dragons, I mean, all this has really done is given us some experience with ice fighting. And, I mean, we've learned some things along the way, sure, but I'm just hoping that this detour isn't gonna wind up being... Anyway.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, we can't think about that. We just have to do
Right.
it at this point.
I
Exactly,
agree.
Hazel. Thank you.
Because if we spend more time thinking about it and trying to work out an ideal, we're gonna worry more. We're gonna make more mistakes.
Yeah,
Improvise.
I do, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that the thoughts aren't happening. It's just that,
Right.
unlike with some people, I don't wear them at the front. They happen at the back. Why do you think I come up with a plan of attack so fast?
For what it's worth, I'm going to say this now. No experience that I've had with any of you, has been not worth it in some form or fashion, and all of it has helped. I may not exactly know just how in the moment, but it has.
Well, you've definitely had a few lessons in thinking before you speak with the people. Although from the dragons or assholes thing, I think Ava's probably picked up a couple of your bad habits.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Smiles and
Those are my
sort of
habits.
gives her
It's my thing.
reaches and gives her the very, very light nookie, because it's hard to ruffle hair that's in a bun. Look,
With these experiences that we've all learned from, we're going to up to and include the flattering of guests.
Well, we'll just have to see, but at least for the
We've
time.
learned that
No,
we
go ahead.
learned from that when one squishes something of that particularly weird undead nature, the goo goes everywhere.
I learned how to
Squishing
dodge
things.
spleen.
Yeah, to be fair, most people do not attempt to make something taller than them pancake. Now, of course, you have an axe and you'd be bisecting them.
Yeah, and hopefully that would result in less spray these days.
Axe goes in, hits a lot of major organs, blood, as it peels
Yeah,
in half like banana.
Caused it to gout that way if it's gouting through where I
But they
cut.
still have blood pumping, so there's still, you know there's a heart and it pumps blood. You know what happens when you break that?
Oh, it makes
Pressure.
like a balloon. Okay.
There's a lot of pressure and fountain. Trust me, I've seen this.
Oh boy. Yeah, then I'm gonna just try to avoid that experience. Got covered already once. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're better off going for innards more than anything around about the neck, because a lot of the pressure is around there.
Hence a lot of the beheading.
And Triss is like putting plates down. You have the most interesting dinner conversation.
You know, a lot of the stories tend to gloss over these details, I've noticed.
For good reason.
Exactly.
Did it ever occur to you that that might have been my polite way of asking you to stop?
Apologies, we do sort of emit chaos in an aura.
Oh no, you see, I understand the having the conversation. I'm not looking for an apology from you because you didn't make light instead of shutting up.
My apologies.
Puts your plate down.
So much about my track record of thinking before I spoke. Oh well, I'll try again.
Well, that's the thing. You didn't. No, actually, because when you didn't apologize straight off, yeah, okay. I was trying to find a way to absolve you. That didn't really work.
No, there's no. Nope, I earned that one.
Him, she hair ruffles. Eat your dire eat your dire penguin. And
now you have me thinking of dire chicken.
To be fair, Hazel would, given the amount of meat on a dire penguin, dire chicken would feed the family for a month.
I mean, that would given the normal size of a chicken, a dire chicken would be like at least the size of a moose.
I think you'd have to ask Agrif if they could breed dire chicken.
Oh god.
Oh boy.
Knowing Egroff, there'd be colors.
Oh boy.
That's not a bad thing. There are colors of chicken.
I think
How about we don't pass this idea along to Agraf? Sound like a good idea? Let them come up with it on their own.
There are already like unique chicken colors. There's an entire breed of chickens specifically out of Goldendale that is golden.
Yes, I know, but there's not just the colors of the feathers, but also the size of the feathers, which makes it all the more interesting.
There is nothing about this conversation that does not sound amazing to me.
Oh, God.
So we'll leave Clarity amazed by the agriculture conversation while we take our break, and when we come back, we'll actually get to meet Vieve Alled properly at a setting that's not a really complicated wedding reception. And we're back at the foot of the great mountain where the capital city of Eun-Bac, the free city of Damyl, is built. Your inn, the People's Rest, has served you a wonderful dish of chicken fried dire penguin and warm mulled cider. The spices are a little different, a little more kick to them than you have in Baronsveer, so you can imagine that a lot of those were brought in from Alzor High and point surrounding. Some of you recognize those particular flavors fairly well. there is no option for private rooms. There is basically upstairs, and the beds will all fit 2 or more good-sized humanoids. Like, because obviously the people have some, Goliaths, and they do like sharing, and while there are screens you can set up alongside your bed, if you are looking for a particular privacy. One thing that I should flag up to y'all is that most of the people don't use them, and now that they are not actually on the ice, all of you, I think, are getting a fairly good auditory and occasionally visual of that whole thing about how they are basically just one very large polycule. So it's a little bit noisy at the beginning of the night. So, if anybody wants to set up screens to shut that out, they are more than welcome to.
They won't take offense to that?
The Alice is just like, sometimes people just want to sleep.
Okay.
And, I think it all depends on whether or not you either consider it educational or want to join in. Darvin may be laughing, and he looks at Alice saying, she is dead serious.
That's part of the reason he's laughing, because he knows full well she's completely serious.
It's like, if you've traveled with them for any length of time, I keep telling you, all you'd have to do is get involved. It's a thing. But, no. Sort of drops back, points to by one bed that she's presumably going to at least share with Remy, and just go, do you want to pull the screens?
Yeah, we should probably rest.
Yeah, and just it makes kind of a half room, half tent with this. They don't keep a lot of sound out, but they do keep some out, and at least you're not getting a direct view of... I mean, Darvin might find some of it educational. I'm fairly sure he has not attempted some of these positions on account of he wasn't sure if anybody bent that way.
Cases like that, he might damn near be taking notes. Doesn't mean he can manage to do it without looking rude or creepy.
He does. Well, while watching at that point, just sort of get either back off or join in. This is not a spectator sport.
Oh, what the hell? It's not until later. And he literally just sort of walks over and just goes.
Okay, so yeah, Darvin's having a bit of an interesting time as.
It's another one of those. Oh, we're with the people. I've been doing every single thing else they suggested. Why not? Type of thing.
Well, he was staring, and it's like, you really want to experience this? Well,
I mean,
as for the rest of you, I'm assuming that it's mostly just been bed.
Mm-hmm. Clarity pulls the screen quietly and then keeps her earmuffs on.
It would probably keep hers on if she's got any.
Well, I don't think she does. The reason that Clarity has earmuffs is because Candor made her earmuffs.
Right.
Well, you weren't there when Candor made her the earmuffs, so it's understandable. But she's had them for a while, and they are very important to her. And especially now. Between the screens and the, it doesn't block everything, but it's if you add a pillow, it'll muffle everything.
Yeah, she'd probably have a
Yep.
pillow.
And Clarity's lucky enough to basically have a half elf wrapped around her.
So yeah, rest does eventually happen. Morning happens, and Darvin finds himself sort of sandwiched in the middle of a large-ish human male and more than large-ish a half-orc female. Who are just the woman who was the one who called him over. It's like, I'm assuming you learned something new, because I think you need a little more experience. Pat. It goes and
You're
puts
not
clothes
wrong.
on.
This was educational. Thank you. Like, sincere thank you. Like, this was educational. Thank you.
Oh my god, our bard is a delight.
And that's the thing. He's willing to try new things, but not a complete horn dog. So yay for getting away from the bard stereotype. So yes, morning happens, and Darvin does. For him, it's probably less the walk of shame and more the stride of pride.
And we're just sort of, well, that was interesting. Let's have some breakfast.
and although when he's doing that, you do get Alice not even looking, just going, Darvin, pants.
Oh god.
Like set in the tone of, oh damn. He's like, oh pants. Wait.
Oh, I almost saw it as a Clint Barton thing. Ah, pants.
Oh, pants, no.
I remember Budapest very differently.
Yes, downstairs, there is a breakfast steam table, and what you are seeing is on one of the tables there is an omelet that covers the entire size of the table.
Oh.
Yeah, do you know dire penguins? That would be one of its eggs.
Just one?
You remember how big the damn thing was, right?
That is true.
So basically, you just cut yourself off a wedge, grab some sausage over there. I don't know what they put in the sausage in there these days, but I mean,
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
you can ask Audie if you want. He's the dude in the kitchen. And yeah, the coffee does not smell quite as strong as Alice's usual, but it does smell busier. There's more of a spice kind of scent to it under the coffee. Alice, big old mug. Swig. Anybody who is having the coffee, could you all please make me Constitution saving throws?
Oh god damn it! Now I have to.
Oh,
I'm going for a smaller than usual mug because I know my rep.
Well, to be fair, I kind of figured just about everybody was trying the coffee.
Roseth doesn't really do coffee. Doesn't need it.
There is a sort of a almost spearmint-ish mint tea. So that's for him. Yeah. Darvin and Clarity.
oh boy.
How best to put this? The spices that you were experiencing, they kind of build in the mouth as you're drinking the coffee. For Barnabas, it's just this is the good stuff. You can just sort of feel it warming from the stomach on out. same for same for Remy and for Hazel, although it is a little bit more. There's a mouth tingle there, but a couple of bites of your breakfast more or less sorted out. Darvin and Clarity, after about the first 2 sips, your mouths feel like they are on very sweet fire. Alice just sort of nudges a pitcher of milk in their general direction. Doesn't even look, just... Psst. Yeah, basically Darvin grabs the pitcher, pours milk, hands it to Clarity, and then chugs from the pitcher. I know him.
Exactly. He's kind of like, the whole time he's going. "Ah,
This feels like betrayal.
You must be weirdly sensitive to this. Then they grow a really potent cinnamon around here.
Yes.
Clarity, sorry, I should have mentioned what you do is now that you've had some milk to tamp it down, your cup of milk, add half the coffee to the half of the milk that's left and drink it that way. It'll mellow it out a bit.
It's less like betrayal. Thank you.
Yeah, it does actually sweeten the cinnamon and makes it a bit more of a warming thing, but your mouths are gonna tingle kind of weird for the next couple hours. Yeah, I keep forgetting all of the things I have to warn you guys about. It's just you've been traveling with the people. I just kind of anyway. Sorry about that. And
oh no, that was that was an experience. Thank you.
Yeah,
Really fantastic what it is. I'll have some more.
Welcome to why I always say surprise me.
Barnabas is having zero problem at all. It's just more of this, please, because it doesn't just wake you up; it warms you up too.
Mm-hmm. Let's face it, Barnabas has run and will run on nothing but coffee, baked goods, and sweets for far longer than any carbon-based life form should.
Look at it this way, though. This coffee for Barnabas with that roll, it's the equivalent of a good cup of coffee and rub it down with something like Tiger Balm. So the warm relaxes the muscles too, just without the really horrible astringent smell.
So you're going to have to drag him away from the pod, is what you're saying. Got it.
Although I'm imagining Barnabas just being, but I want more of the, that he'll probably have to turn around to Alice and just be like, where can I buy some of this? To be fair, he only looks in Alice's direction before I'll point you at the shop. I need to replenish a few things myself anyway.
Outstanding.
I second this plan.
I get to pick some for myself before you buy out the shop again.
Okay.
Aaron's just doing this, going.
Call it a finder's fee.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Yeah, B. We need more.
Pat. And Odie comes out and sort of goes, how many of you know donuts? To be fair, I think it's only Remy and Barnabas who know donuts.
You haven't seen him perk up like that in a long time.
Hazel doesn't know them by the name. She referred to them as sweet bagels, and while somebody was trying to be it was a bit like the cake pans. It was just leave her with sweet bagels. But the name,
the logic kick in yet?
No. The words are nothing alike, and she hasn't actually seen them.
donuts? Does it look like a pine cone?
Well, for her, it would be more. Are they made from like acorn flour, hazelnut
Is it
flour?
made of acorn? Made from acorn? Hazelnut?
There's no, well,
Is it shaped like a pine
there's
cone?
usually no nuts, Hazel, unless you sprinkle them on top.
At which point you are getting okay. We have maple glazed, maple filled, and iceberry jam filled. Or am I just bringing everything we have, putting them mostly in front of the
Yes.
and walking?
Those expressions. Yeah,
Thank you.
what these two are doing.
And-
Those three.
Oh.
Whoa, Barnabas, you're vibrating.
You got to understand, this was the best part of my old job.
Oh dear.
Down.
and comes out with 4 baskets. I mean, this is a Goliath. He can carry all the baskets. One is straight up powdered sugar donuts. One have maple syrup kind of glaze, and 2 are the kind of filled donuts. One has more of that maple colored sort of cream stuff coming out of the little hole in one, and one has a sort of a weirdly pale violet jam thing coming out. So it just puts them on the table, and Alice very quickly before Barnabas attacks, yoink, yoink, one of each.
I'm going to mimic and then stare.
Yeah, the two.
He literally takes his hands and sort of sits on them. Y'all better go after these first.
Yeah, and when Hazel sees the ones with the holes, it's sweet bagels.
Yeah, it's like I've got one of each, and they're just staring.
Just eat
Sweet
it, Hazel.
No, she knows what they are. Ree, look, she knows what they are.
Hey,
Wait.
is donuts a name related to here? Or
It's
brain
what,
is just going
it's what
pinball
it's
tangents,
what-
very confused.
it's what
Eat
they're
it, Hazel.
it's what they're actually called. It's probably wound up a bit like your thing about cake pans.
Fine, and just gonna pick up the pale violet one.
It's a very cool sweetness, the iceberry jam. It's a little bit of raspberry tart, but almost like a sorbet cool, but while still being a jam.
Looking from that to the to the coffee to this to the and just sort of having a moment of, oh, this is going to be amazing.
I am assuming by this point that everybody who wants donuts has grabbed one, and Alice is just Barnabas go to.
I think you kind of y'all may want to avert your eyes.
Not a chance in any of the hells. I'm watching this.
Darwin just covers his and goes, like, I'm not gonna blink for this.
So one of each die in a way that's horrible in its suddenness. Like you've seen Barnabas stuff stuff in his mouth before, but not like that.
Oh god.
Almost,
It's funny. I thought you were gonna savor the first bites, but I guess
No.
you just need them in your system first.
We got one of each in his system. Then he takes one of the maple glaze, and then he gets another cup of coffee, and then we have the full on savoring every second.
And these are, I mean, for Barnabas, they are actually better than the ones back home.
Wow.
There's when he's making that face, Alice goes, yeah, I think the secret in ours, or at least here, is that there's potato in there, and it makes it softer and fluffier.
A sweet thing with
less likely to dry out. They actually do. I'll show you the shop. They do a potato candy.
Really?
They basically mash up. It's hard to get flour and normal sugars up here. So what they do is they, sugars you can get, but boiling them and all the rest of it is a bit faffy. So what they do is they take a good sized potato, boil it, mash it, let it cool, then add enough powdered sugar to make a dough. Then they roll it out, spread chocolate spread, peanut butter, jam on it, roll it up, chill it for a little while, and then cut it into servings.
I recognize this. They basically liquefied it in the potato.
That sounds utterly fantastic.
You can bake potatoes, so why not bake with potatoes? That makes sense.
They do a potato cake up here. First time I tried to explain to them how to do that in the kitchen at the Tipsy Pixie, you should have heard this individual. When I tried to explain that the mix needed to be a pale white, held up the spoon next to my hair to compare. Not in my hair, but you know what I mean. It was the closest he could get, I guess. I don't know, but he absolutely flipped out. It really was just it's incredible, and I'm mad about it.
The Tipsy Pixie.
Well, you met the dude. He kind of is, yeah. So yeah, once we finish up breakfast, and a couple of us have to say goodbye properly to the pack, we can meet up with them again later on, because I know where they're going to be setting up. We'll actually wind up passing by the bit of Damyl that's set aside specifically for the people, because they don't normally stay in buildings. This particular inn is an exception. It's the only place they'll stay. But mostly they stick to their own tents and orandens. So Governor Alled set up a segment on the market level that's entirely for them to do their various bits of trading. But there's other shops and other things as you go up the spiral. So we have shit to do, so we'll finish breakfast. Ree and Barnabas and Ava and I will say goodbye properly, because we be packed, so we got to take leave properly. And then I'll start showing y'all around on our way up to the governor's building. Word will have reached by now. Governor Alled will know we're here. She always does. And now she's had the evening to get ready. Do you have Audie going? If you want the rest of the donuts, eat the rest of the donuts.
Thank you.
Hazel versus Frostberry. It's basically what's happening on my end.
So she's like, once you've done that, have a sip of the coffee to cleanse a bit, and try the maple filled. They've got this this sort of sweet maple mousse-ish kind of stuff in there. One of my favorites. It goes well with the cinnamon spice of the coffee too.
It really, really does.
Following through on recommendations where we're given. Generally, I think Hazel's favorite has become Frostberry, because that plus the coffee is just a flavor mix she apparently is nearly vibrating as a result of.
And once breakfast is finished, and if there are any donuts left in the baskets, Alisai just dumps them all into one basket, hands the whole basket to Barnabas, and they won't care, I promise.
Happiest Minotaur in the next 3 closest planes.
It looks at Remy. Hey, Ree, do Do you think that the next time we pass through Belarus, it would be taken amiss if I did a sending to your parents and see if they can make a suitable cornucopia of donuts for Barnabas?
I think they would enjoy that very much.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Gives him a bop on the shoulder. I do these things for my Reden. Boom, boom. Come on.
Out of character.
Hmm?
Out of character. Barnabas is probably going to end up diabetic if he doesn't watch it.
First of all, that's not how diabetes works. Sorry, but we get that a lot, and it's bullshit, and it's food shaming, and nobody needs that. But at the same time, there's also the fact that he gets enough of a workout on a regular basis that he doesn't have to worry about it anyway. If nothing else, now Froseth has somebody of approximately his size to spar with in the mornings.
Because that man is going to be awake.
Awake, properly worked out, so he's working off all the caloric burn, so it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I step up to the various of the people's tables, and Vort looks up and goes, "We're gonna have to do this in common, aren't we?" "Hey, not for that much longer." "Yes, all right. So, how was it? Newest of you. Tell me things."
Very glad we got the chance to come up here.
Yeah. This was very, very nice. I'm humbled that you guys welcomed me into the pack like that.
You are hurry, then you know what it is to be good to the rest of the pack in that kind of a way.
It was a really enriching experience.
Gets up and grabs Ava in big crunch hugs. Crunch! You seem to need those. You always have a place. Know this. We see why she chose you that way. You are worthy of it. Pat, pat. And looks at Remy. And you.
He be small.
She be small, he be big.
I'm hoping me and LSA will be back in the summer.
You're coming on one of the grand hunts. Yes! Actually, it sort of picks up Remy, sets her on his shoulder. It's like,
Okay.
you see, this one is worthy of the lifeblood. This, I understand this now. I wasn't sure I did, but I've seen you with the spear fishing and the rest of the hunting, and yes, I see it now.
Thank you.
Sets her down. Be as you are a pack of your own. We see that. But it is good to have you connected with ours. Good luck to you, and maybe we'll see you upstairs, yeah?
Yeah. Good luck to you as well.
Just makes a gesture that I think it's only Ava of the bunch of them doesn't understand, is a combination of thank you and walk in Oral's grace kind of a situation. So it's just it's like goodbye, good luck, but it's got a lot more depth to it than that. And she just gives a head off back to the rest of you. Okay, we're good.
Back to the others then?
Boy, no, this is after they came back to the others. Right, I hope everybody's shoes is comfy. It's gonna be a bit of a walk. and does stop outside and gives Legolas a pat. I will come and see you later, okay? Looks extremely unimpressed. If I could bring you, I would, I promise. Ow. Hey. Pat. He actually tries to follow her up the road. It just it makes a few gestures, and you've never seen a moose that size sulk.
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
oh boy.
This was as bad as the first time.
No.
It gestures out later. Promise. Soon later. Sulks a little
Bigger than
less.
the one.
Hmm?
This is just you say that sulk thing, and just out of character, my head goes directly to, nope, his pumpkin now.
Yeah. Well, not even a pumpkin by that point. But yeah, just basically you do wind up. It doesn't take very long to figure out that the path, which is just about wide enough for two average-sized individuals, shoulder to shoulder, which means that Furseth is wiry, so he could probably manage with abreast of another person, but Barnabas is going to have to solo up this particular road. Goes in a spiral, not a very steep one, but still a spiral all the way up the mountain. So there is a terrible lot of walking, and every so often they come up wider spots on this. Thankfully, there's a rail that's about waist height on Furseth and Barnabas, so there's no danger of falling off towards the end. But you do wind up with wider places where there's multi-story homes, again, partially carved from ice jutting out of the mountain and partially carved into the mountain. That goes on for a good half hour before you're about midway up the mountain, and Alice goes, okay, gonna have to be a little careful here around this next bend, because if any of you wondered where the various ovens around here vent out, we're coming upon it now.
Okay.
What you wind up with is a series of... Basically, you wind up with a cliff that's about 20 feet high. As much ice as rock at that point. And the rail stops for that bit of basically ladder, and the road picks up again. But immediately ahead, past the cliff face, there's this great billow of surprisingly clean looking. It looks almost more like hot air hitting the cold, hot wind hitting the cold air kind of poof, directly over basically this vast ice plain in that sort of direction until you get to more mountains. This is apparently where they vent things out, and the various temperature differentials seem to mean that particular direction explains why, as you were going up, well, first, why it's not in a section where anybody lives, and secondly, that particular area is basically consistently getting sleet. They clean the impurities out of the various vents, but the hot air has to come out, so weather shit happens over there. So once you get higher up, you get more residences along the top, but we have a small localized ice storm down there at all times. At least it's out of the way of most people, and if anybody ever tried attacking from that general direction, they'd be in for a little bit of surprise. So yeah, ladder. And yes, anybody who is doing it is going to have to make me this. In this case, it is a straight up dex check. Acrobatics doesn't really help, but athletics doesn't either.
Woohoo! Makes up for my 3.
Okay.
Oh
no.
boy.
Oh dear.
Wow. I was not expecting that one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
boy.
everybody except for Remy and Ava managed fairly well. I mean, it's a one at a time thing, and the two of you who wound up falling either, in Ava's case, like 3 feet up, and in Remy's case, she manages to lose a handhold after the first rung. They just get flown up by Alice.
Oh, thank you.
It's cool. It's one of the perks of my new wedding present.
That is true.
Go further up, and you get more dwellings at this point. Still, none of them actually on the side. Basically, you've only got buildings on the one side as you're walking up, and the rest of it is just particularly impressive views the further up you go. Midway, it's about another 10 minutes after you hit the vent that you wind up with something that is actually blocking the view out, but it's not anything permanent. It's market stalls. These are smaller than you might expect from what you see, easy to pack up. This seems to be so that you don't have to go all the way up to the top to get your shopping done. It's like the equivalent of one of those, little supermarkets, little chain supermarkets in the middle of big cities, rather than having to go out to your big supermarket. Yeah.
I remember these from
Yeah.
London.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have those too.
I'm sure there's a similar kind of setup, and it's not like the market version of a bodega, but it's still a smaller, shops on one side and little stalls on the other, and Alice is getting some looks. A few of them clearly still recognize her, and you're just getting fuck. I do not have time to explain this to everybody. Barnabas, you wanted coffee and potato candy.
Mm-hmm.
Little shop right down this way. Come on.
All right.
I also require the coffee.
Yeah, they don't. The shops don't specifically have names. They're just buildings with. This one is largely it's a dried goods shop, so spices, coffee, various teas, bits of dried fruit, that fruit leather that Alice was A, telling Remy about, and B, gave to Froseth for Oralmus a few weeks ago. There's a fair bit of that on display, in the same sort of realm as the various different flavors of potato candy.
Ooh.
Different stuff spread in them. And Alice kind of picks up her bag of coffee, a few more bits of spices, and leaves Barnabas to his own devices. And Hazel to her own devices, because those two in shops are just funny.
Barnabas, real simple. He's going to get like something of a sampler of all the potato candy and buy them out of the coffee.
If Hazel wants some of... Basically, she sees Barnabas
Hazel,
once Alice's had hers.
You want to buy any coffee before I buy it all?
I'm going to need maybe... Screw it. Double down on supply, and I guess, how much did Alice get?
She got a couple of
One.
bags.
I'm gonna go for like these bags look like they'd be a supply for a while, or
That's the thing, Hazel doesn't know how to brew it. Specifically, if you need to use more or less, the same amount. She didn't ask.
all right. So I'm just gonna triple down and go for 9 bags.
That leaves... That's the thing, this is a little shop.
Ah, okay. I thought there was like a shelf with a bit more than that. Sorry. 2.
Yeah, that leaves Barnabas with, like, 6 or 7 bags.
Perfect.
And yeah, the potato candy comes in, like, 3 different kinds of nut butter. Frostberry jam, maple sugar spread, chocolate spread.
Well, if it's the
2
same
of the
maple
frostberry.
bread as donuts, Barnabas is going to be a big fan of that.
It's rich and sort of solid without being floury. Again, because of the potato. And again, it very much appeals to the sweet tooth without being cloying.
You've given Hazel a new obsession, frostberries, so that's I'm just at least two instances of that, and pretty much nothing else.
The elf, because it is a full elf at the counter, is going, we have you seem to like the frostberries. We have the preserves, and we have them dried, and actually hands a couple of dried frostberries as a sampler.
Yes, thank you so much.
Are you going to, holding the hand out, are you going to try them?
Yeah, following through on that. Just after that brief moment of I can see through space and time, to following through.
Well, she's been a fan of dried cranberries, and this is like that, but with that same cool sorbet sweet tartness in with it as well.
This is a win. This is a win. This is a win. This is very much a win.
So Hazel winds up with a jar of frostberry preserves. Probably buys out their dried frostberries and like 2 shoe-sized bits of frostberry fruit leather. That plus the coffee is going to run her 3 gold.
Worth every iota.
How much of the potato candy is Barnabas getting?
Like, what is it sold in? Like, how much is
It's basically you get individual pieces about that big.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's gonna get 2 of the maple spread and then 1 of each of the rest.
okay, so that in particular, that specifically is 5 silver. That much coffee, on the other hand, you are looking at 5 gold.
Okay.
It's like looks at the amount of coffee that he's getting and going, oh boy. I'm going to have to talk to my suppliers. Oh boy.
Barnabas is entirely too happy to be buying this to notice. He's just like, coffee.
Although as he's heading out, it's like, I'm not sure whether it's wise to tell you that shops upstairs, there's at least one shop upstairs that carries this.
We probably don't have time. And yeah, it probably wasn't wise to me. Don't tell me where.
Well, I'm going anyway. They're the only ones that have a particular spice that I quite like, and I didn't want to buy him out of all his burn lichen. So like I say, I'm going in there anyway.
I'm following you on that one, Alice. Just because cookery things.
I will attempt willpower to not buy more. Note I said attempt.
Hazel, the shop I'm talking about, I see you're really into the frostberries. They have a kind of a frostberry syrup that goes on top of cups of snow to make them like a flavored ice thing.
No codes.
Oh boy.
Slowly starting to vibrate.
No.
In, like, little bursts.
Yeah. Grabs her,
Trying.
lifts her off the ground just until the feet stop.
Stable.
It's like a dying wasp.
That's because I'm holding it back as much as possible. It just takes a few seconds to get a lid on it.
Yeah, I just didn't want you to. I mean, there's a lot of ice underpinning on this floor. I didn't want you to crack any of it.
That's pop. Yeah.
The way you vibrate, I'm not sure, and I don't want to find out.
Exactly. Good plan.
And there's, there's not much in the way of shop window, but there's a little bit, and mostly you're just looking in, and the occasional butcher. One place that seems to specialize in fur hats. They've got the kind of a fur deerstalker with the ear muff bits.
Oh, that just really is amazing.
And one is sort of white animal, but there's a tail in the back that's still attached to it, and it's kind of these pale brown stripes. Yeah, they have the equivalent of a coonskin cap, but with ear flaps.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, I just see Hazel looking in it going, eh?
I'm seeing the hat with the tail, and I'm
the one that Hazel's. That
just sort of rotating nearby.
I'm just wondering. I'm looking at I see Hazel. And that would be okay. One that's adorable, and the hell with it. I'm gonna go inside, and I'm gonna ask how much it is.
What you have is a rather elderly, incredibly scarred half-orc. Looking up, and it looks over at you, and newcomers. How I help?
How much for the hat with the tail? And he's pointing toward it.
Oh, the rascal hat. I
can't remember out of character if I've heard of those.
No.
Yet. Okay. So confused look.
We call them rascals. They are twitchy little buggers. They get into everything.
Perfect.
Do you want one? Do you want one with the face or without the face? Pulls out another one, and it does actually have a face on the front. It's a little more fox-like than anything else, but really narrow, pointy little nose. This kind of that same pale, although with it a bit more concentrated there, you can see that it's not quite so much a brown as an almost auburn red mask pattern across the. It's basically what you'd get if you crossed a raccoon with an Arctic fox.
Yeah, I was picturing exactly that. You know me all too well. You know what? How much for the one with the face? And do you have one like that, but a little smaller, and he kind of holds up his hands, trying to estimate about the size of Evan's head.
That is a child's head. That child is going to grow.
That's a fair point. But, and looking at that one, I don't know how many gnomes Darwin has met, but he's seen a few during our journeys. So, would that one fit a gnome?
That one's a standard humanoid head, so no.
Okay.
He would be like, maybe I should just ask if they have a gnome-sized hat?
Mm-hmm. So, he's a gnome.
We do not get many gnomes. Let me see.
Thank you very much.
Pads off to the back. Actually hear a thump of a cane, and if you're looking behind the counter, there's a significant amount of muscle missing from bits of this guy's leg. He apparently used to do his own damn hunting, and given some of the grammatical he's got, you can assume that he's probably of the people, and he decided to open his own place when he retired. So Stump's back with, see, we have child size. That probably does for a gnome. He's gonna have to grow into it if he's a child now. Small hat is 3 gold. Face hat is 5 gold.
I will take both. Thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciate it. And I'll hand the gold over, take the hats, and quietly and quickly leave before I say anything stupid. And when I get outside, I will go over to Hazel. I will hold up the small one for Evan later. Well, I'm going to give it to him when we see him, but he can use it later. And for you, because what the hell? And I'll hand Hazel the one with the face.
Yeah.
I'm holding it up so it's looking at her. Worth it for that look on your face. So yes, that was worth 5 gold.
You've seen stuffed trophies before. So you've seen stuffed trophies before. You know, the kind of thing that taverns and noble houses sometimes have on their walls.
You just go with like wearing the trophy. What? Fine, take hat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crushing the bow.
Careful adjustment, clarity, help. I need to.
That was bad enough, and then now this.
The bow. If she has to move it down a bit, but it winds up kind of under the tail. So.
There we go.
Clarity had something to cover her ears. I thought you could use something too, and you were looking at it interestingly. So.
And now it's looking at her. Now it's looking at her interestingly.
Oh, well, it's looking at you because it's on my head now.
This was a good idea.
Reaches into her bag, takes out a ribbon, ties it across the thing's eyes, and so now it's kind of like hourglass shaped now. And she just keeps walking.
I'm not even gonna ask. Just gonna leave it like this until I figure something out.
And after a bit more, just walking up the spiral, it's probably around about lunchtime when you hit what is clearly the main market plaza and the gubernatorial castle, if you like. It really is like an ice-themed version of Main Street USA in Disney World, because you have this over there's a whole patch of the people's tents, as whole packs kind of get together and do trading over there. There's some fancier looking shops in various tiers up that way. all around, there's more general, set them up, tear them down at the end of the day stalls. And right at the very center where the peak of this mountain would be, it's clearly been leveled off here. And the view, by the way, if you're looking out over, is you can see long way in that clear, cold air. But mostly what you're looking at is the seriously magnificent ice castle. And as you walk towards it, the two individuals, one is Silver Dragonborn and one is a very small by comparison looking half-elf. They're going, greetings to the Cupcake Coterie. You were expected. We will show you to rooms to tidy yourselves. A lunch will be provided, and you will see Governor Alled at dinner this evening. Was there anything you needed to ask of us?
I don't think so.
Well, if you need anything when we show you to rooms, we will show you to rings. So it's the half elf who gestures to Clarity and Hazel. You two are sharing. Gestures to Alice and Remy. You two are sharing. And you, the rest of you are individuals?
That's right.
You will all be in the same wing, so we're not separating you too much. And as they start showing you in the general direction of rooms, we will call it there, because we are at that time. And in 2 weeks, we will have you guys settle in briefly, and then have your proper dinner with Governor Alled and get started on what research you can arrange doing.
Cool.
But you've survived the Eun-Bac Wastes. Congratulations.
Woohoo!
See you in 2 weeks, guys.